Welcome Wargamers to Hot Gates Gaming with your host James, bringing you some brand new content about Games Workshop's latest system, Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire. In this video we'll be unboxing my brand new boxed version of the game, as well as talking you through what I think about the system, showing you how to assemble the miniatures and also giving you a rough playthrough. Nothing left to do but to get down and get this bad boy out of the cellophane. Let's get down and have a look at exactly what makes up Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire. So what we're going to do is we're going to flip over, and it actually tells you contents on the back, as it well should. So we get 3 Liberator fighters, 5 Blood Reaver fighters, 8 fighter cards, 2 double-sided game boards, 96 upgrade, deploy and objective cards, 126 tokens, 8 Warhammer Underworlds dice. There's a 32-page rulebook, as well as a quick start sheet. Now, one of the things that really excites me about this game is that it is a fast-paced game of tactical arena combat, and the last arena combat game that Games Workshop put out was, of course, Gore Chosen. Again, set in the world of Age of Sigmar or Warhammer, and that was quite a very simple system with some great miniatures, fantastic value, and it's a wonderful game to just get out and, you know, when I've had friends over for a brew who are wargaming friends, it's a nice game to kind of get out and have a bit of fun with that. But enough tactical depth to it to still have fun, really. This looks like it's taking things to another level, and it's also set in the world of Sigmar or Warhammer. So let's have a look. Let's get inside the Sigmar. Let's get inside the cellophane and let's see exactly what we have in here. So of course it makes sense that Games Workshop would continue to use the Stormcast Eternals, which are effectively becoming their Space Marines of the Age of Sigmar world. You know, their iconic race, the good guys, as it were, and they're very much enjoying putting in conflict of those, the Khorne, the Chaos, the bloody Reaver, barbarian style of opponent, and that works really well. It's that whole kind of red-blue idea, isn't it? Good and evil. So let's lift this up. Now, one thing that does impress me about this is the box size itself. It's a very compact little box, so it's going to make for a great starter game for people who perhaps play board games and the like to come and get involved. So straight away, what we have here is we have a bunch of push-out tokens, and you've also got your game tiles as well, and we'll look at how those work over the course of the video. We have our 32-page rulebook, which is also wrapped up in cellophane, so I'll give that a bit of a skip through, and it also has an assembly guide. Now, a lot of people reference Warhammer Underworld Shadespire as being the next big gateway game, and what we mean by gateway game is a game which is going to get people who maybe haven't played wargaming or tabletop gaming, or haven't been interested in anything beyond board games, to actually come across and start getting involved with the tabletops, getting to play with the miniatures, getting to experience the IP, the story, the world, the aesthetic, and then perhaps making that jump into something like Age of Sigmar or Warhammer 40k. Now, as such, looking at the instructions here, it looks like these are push-click miniatures, and this again is a really good way of incentivizing people who maybe haven't done the hobby side of tabletop gaming before and have just been involved in having pieces such as from board games. It's a really good way of encouraging them to get involved in a very similar way that Space Hulk does, I suppose, for Warhammer 40k. So we've also got the miniatures here. Each set of miniatures are on 2 lots of sprues, nice and neat, and just to confirm, absolutely these are push-click miniatures. Now, if you do have a tabletop background and you want to make sure that these are perhaps a bit more secure, you can put in a bit of plastic glue or some super glue and the like, and it will need clipping off the sprue, but that should be easy enough. We'll show you how to do that with an example miniature. And another wonderful thing I love about this is that you do have that very red versus blue. You don't have to paint these miniatures in order to play Shadespire. We've got some dice, which I'm sure once we've read the rulebook, it'll give us a good idea about what each of those symbols actually means. And then we've got the cards. Now, another observation that I've seen when it comes to Warhammer Underworld Shadespire, a lot of people are likening this to, or comparing it in lots of ways, to Games Workshop's attempt to follow the Fantasy Flight Games pattern of releasing expansions, each expansion containing not just cards for its relevant expansion, but cards which then can be used across the whole game and for the different war bands that you put together, and I imagine that there will be some very good cards in some of those expansions where you'll feel like you have to buy the expansion in order to get the card to build a deck. Ultimately, this as well as being a game of gladiatorial arena combat, it's also a deck building game, and you build your deck to try and make your war band as good as it possibly can be at, you know, wiping out the enemy or achieving the objectives of the game. So we've got the Blood Reaver starting deck there, we've got the Liberator starting deck, and we've also got some extra cards here. Don't open this until you've played a few games. This pack includes a few extra objective cards and power cards that you can use to construct new decks for each warband, which seems really interesting. Wow, now this is a lovely touch. What a great touch. Not something that I expected at all, and I know it seems like a small thing, but actually getting baggies to put things like your tokens in is a real winner for me. It can be very frustrating when you open a game and you don't have these and you've got to rustle around. Normally, I have to say for myself, it's going into my old Star Wars X-Wing boxes and getting any spare baggies to put my cards in. That's what I had to do when I was playing Dark Souls, the board game, is I had to go back through, get my Star Wars X-Wings baggies and try and divide things up that way. The fact that you actually get a bunch of baggies in here is a really nice little touch, I have to say. I really like that. And then we've also got, this was just the beginning. This is the, oh, there's a bit of a poster there, fight epic battles in an unending war. So this is your advert really for taking the next step into Warhammer Age of Sigmar. People getting to see some of the miniatures and seeing a really good starter set for Warhammer Age of Sigmar, which is of course Thunder and Blood there. And I think that that is it. Yeah, that is just for keeping everything together. And that's really nice. Very, very neat box. Going to keep everything together, which is cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a little bit of a look at the rule book, but I'll probably come back when I show you how to assemble one of the miniatures. And here are two absolutely wonderful sprues for Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire. Of course, we have Garrick's Reavers in the red on the left hand side here, and on the right hand side we have Steelheart's Liberator Warband. Now, we have already talked about this being a gateway game into the world of tabletop gaming, and by having these click piece miniatures, which is what's confirmed with this little instruction guide here, it's going to make it that much easier for somebody who maybe previously hasn't been involved in doing the modelling and hobby side of board gaming, let's say, to make that jump and also not feel like they're under any pressure to paint. Now, what we're also going to find is we're going to find people who play Age of Sigmar, Warhammer Age of Sigmar, will probably, whether they're interested in Warhammer Underworld Shadespire or not, will probably feel inclined to pick up a set like this regardless. And that's because these are wonderfully detailed plastic miniatures which they can transfer over and use in Age of Sigmar. In fact, I've already noticed that War Scrolls have been released for Garrick's Reavers, and I believe the same is happened or happening for Steelheart's Liberators. Now, I actually am building a Khorne bloodbound Blades of Khorne army for Age of Sigmar, and as such it makes sense for me to discard these terrible Liberators and actually start clipping the sprues here. Now, all you'll need to do this is a pair of hobby clippers like so. You can get them from any hobby store, you can pick them up from Games Workshop direct. I suggest you guys, if you like my videos and you want to support them, check out the link in the video description below for Element Games, which will give you a discount if you use the code alongside it for picking up something as simple as this. So what we're going to do is we're going to just separate these sprues, and we're going to pick one which we want to work with. Now, what you'll notice, if I bring this closer to the camera, is that each piece has got a number, and those numbers will correlate to what miniature each piece actually belongs to. So actually, let's keep this simple, and you'll notice that the numbers actually go up from 1, 2, 3, etc. So what we need to do is we just take the flat edge of the hobby clippers, and we're just going to bring them up to, this is Garrick himself, and we're just going to clip away this miniature from the sprue. So nice and close. Now, what you will find with any plastic miniature is, although Games Workshop have been very good at trying to avoid this, that there will be the odd mould line, and you can clear them up by using maybe a hobby knife and just scraping slightly down the side. Another thing to note is that because these are all push click miniatures, you want to be really wary that you don't clip off the little pegs at the bottom of their feet, because they're supposed to slot inside the bases, as you can see there. I do really like the detail on the base actually. That is one thing that another thing that I'm super impressed with this set. So we're going to clip him away, and as you can see, as soon as we've got all of those little bits done, he will just fall off the sprue, like so. And we bring him up to the camera so you can see how much detail there is on him. You can see that where there's just tiny little bits of plastic just lifting up off of the miniature, we might shave those away before we do any kind of painting. Now that we've done that bit, let's move on to the back half, which is going to clip onto the back of him. So we're going to clip out this next bit, again just putting the flat of the hobby clippers against the edge of the miniature where we would like a nice flush finish, and you want to get as close as possible to eliminate the amount of plastic which is left sticking off that miniature. So if we just clip there, and I think we've got a couple more. Again, just be really wary that you don't accidentally clip off any spikes or things that are actually supposed to be on the miniature, and you can see that that actually pulls away relatively easy, and we might want to clean up some of those bits there. And what we'll demonstrate here is that these are simply click and press miniatures. You don't need glue, and I'll demonstrate that on this one, even though I do want to glue the rest of mine. I'm just going to push that in like so, and I'll squeeze them together, and that will solidly remain in place, and suddenly you have a wargaming miniature, or if you're a board gamer, a board gaming piece, a highly detailed board gaming piece. So we're going to have a little look around here now, because we want to find the base which corresponds, and we know that this is the base because the instructions tell us so, that 1, 2 and 3 make the first miniature. So we're going to clip that off like this, and then quite simply we take the pegs and we're going to put them in like so, and there we have it. Garrick is done. We're going to do the rest of the warband, and then we'll be able to show you how to play some Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire. And there you have it, all of our miniatures have been assembled, and as you can see they're highly detailed, gorgeous pieces which will work well on the tabletop environment should we decide to spend some hobby time getting these guys up to scratch. But likewise, you can just play it red versus blue in that board game style, which of course is going to be a great way of enticing people who've maybe not experienced tabletop gaming or are worried about the hobby side. So now that we've got all of that assembled, all of these miniatures assembled, I do love these ones in particular. I do love the Garrick Reavers. What I may do is I may take the hair off the top of these guys and go for a kind of skinhead feel, and maybe go almost for a Santa Claus look on this guy, go for a big whitey grey beard. Looking forward to doing that. If doing painting tutorials for these miniatures is something you'd be interested in, like I did with Dark Souls the board game, then do let me know in the comments below. And if you are interested in seeing some Shadespire content going forwards, including some games, including a little bit of a how to play, then again do let us know in the comments. Remember, if you want to support this channel, you can buy this game at a discount using the discount code and using the links in the video description below, so do check that out. And now that we've unboxed the game, we've shown you everything we've got here. We've got the wound tokens, we've also got the glory markers. You're going to get these when you achieve objectives, and you can actually spend them as you play, turn them over to get upgrades from your upgrade cards. We've also got tokens down here which denote whether you have, if you've already moved, you can't move any further, if you've charged, and also if you decide to go on guard, which gives you some extra defensive stat. We've also got the dice here as well. Various dice sides do different things. For example, these exclamation marks are critical hits. These here are dodges if you need one of those. We've also got the defense marker of the shield, and then we've also got little markers on there as well which show whether you're being ganged up on or not. Each of the fighters have got their own cards here which have got various stats on, which when we do our first playthrough we'll go through in a little bit more detail. But do remember that this is a deck building game as well, and each of the factions come with some starting decks. First of all, you have the objective decks, like so. This is the one for Steel Heart's Champions, and you shuffle these up at the start of the game, and it's all about building a deck which you think that that could win. And then you've also got the upgrade and effect decks here, which give you various in-game bonuses and the like. So once more, if you'd like to see some more Shadespire action, let us know in the comments below. And there you have it, Warhammer Underworlds Shadespire has been unboxed on Hotgates Gaming. And as I mentioned before, if you want to see more Warhammer Underworlds content, then do let me know the kind of content that you'd like to see in the video description below. This is a game that I'm really looking forward to giving a go, especially because I'm such a big fan of Gore Chosen in its simplicity, but I also love the fact that you've got the extra layer of trying to build a deck over time, which is going to impact the game. So you're going to build up better cards, just like you would do perhaps in that Fantasy Flight Games style model, where you're picking up expansions because you want particular cards which are going to really benefit your warband. Remember, if you want to support this channel, do use the links in the video description below to buy from Element Games, and you will get discounts if you use all of those codes in the video description below. And remember as well that we do have a Patreon where you can contribute per video that we release here on Hotgates Gaming, which helps encourage me to do more content going forwards. We're having a great game back here at Hotgates Gaming Towers. Hope you guys out there are having a great game. I'll see you back here for some more content very soon.